he was texting her from my delivery room. I know because I found the timestamps later, 4 months before Sophie was even born, while I was flat on my back, trusting every soft word he fed me between contractions. But that proof came afterward. The first real crack didn't arrive like a movie reveal. It came under hospital fluorescence at 2:03 a.m., with that electric buzz in the ceiling. And my daughter's forehead burning against my neck so fiercely, I kept shifting her, like moving her could cool her. Sophie was 19 months old. Her fever climbed to 104 at home, and the children's Tylenol did nothing. At that number, you don't wait politely for a callback. You don't sit on the edge of the bed bargaining with the dark. You grab the nearest blanket, your keys, and you drive. I called Daniel at the first red light. Voicemail. Again when I swung into the ER lot, Sophie crying in thin, broken sounds against the car seat straps. Voicemail. A third time at check-in, spelling her last name for triage while balancing her on my hip, her body limp and hot and shaking. Voicemail. A fourth from the exam room. A fifth while the nurse threaded an IV into her tiny hand because she couldn't keep fluids down, and dehydration was pushing the fever harder. She's going to be okay, the nurse said, taping the line in place. Hydration helps the body release heat. We'll bring this down. I nodded like I was calm. Even managed a tight little smile. Then I stepped into the hallway and called him a sixth time. Nothing. I lowered the phone and pressed it against my thigh so hard, the case left an imprint on my palm. The linoleum was streaked with old mop lines. The vending machine at the corner hummed like a generator. 2 nurses murmured at the station without looking up. Behind a curtain, my daughter was hooked to an IV. And in that whole bright, sleepless building, I was the only parent standing watch for her. That night should have had 2 people in it. Not because I couldn't do it alone, I was doing it, but because he had promised me I never would. I gave him excuses before I gave myself the truth. He's asleep. His phone is on silent. He had a brutal day. There are 100 normal reasons, I told myself. And I'm spiraling because I'm exhausted and scared, and my baby is burning up in a hospital bed. I held that story for about 40 more minutes. Around 3 a.m., Sophie's temperature finally started to fall. The IV dripped steady, clear beads sliding through the chamber. A little color crept back into her cheeks. Her breathing changed too, less frantic flutter, more weight, more rhythm. I wrapped my fingers around her damp hand and watched the monitor numbers, like they were the only honest language left in the room. By 4 o'clock, the doctor discharged us. I carried her through the parking lot under a black sky, buckled her in, shut her door, then sat behind the wheel without turning the key. Every muscle in my back released at once, and my hands began to shake on the steering wheel. Not the sharp panic from earlier. Something colder. Something that had finally stopped pretending. The streets were empty on the drive home, traffic lights changing for no one. I got her inside, peeled off her sweat-damp clothes, put her in clean pajamas, and laid her in the crib with the baby monitor volume turned all the way up. Then I slid down to the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, knees pulled up, and waited for daylight like it was an answer. Morning arrived gray and slow through the sink window. At 6:47 a.m., my phone buzzed once. Daniel. A text. Sorry, late work dinner. Just seeing this. Everything okay? 6 missed calls. A toddler in the ER. 7 hours of silence. And he sent me 5 words and a question mark. I read it once. Then again, slower. Something moved behind my ribs. Not a full break, not yet. More like a deadbolt, sliding open from the inside, quiet and final. I didn't know any statistics then. I didn't know how often affairs start at work. I only knew exactly how late work dinner sounded at 6:47 in the morning, after the longest night of my life. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could have sent rage. I could have sent fear. I could have sent the messy, breathless paragraph women write at dawn when they haven't slept and their baby still has gauze taped to her hand. I sent none of it. She's fine. We're home. That was all. I set my phone face down on the counter and made a decision that took months to execute, but only seconds to make. I wouldn't confront him. Not yet. Not until I had something he couldn't smile at, downplay, or bury under another apology. Sophie slept until noon. I never did. I sat at the kitchen table with his message still glowing in my mind, the house too quiet, the taste of stale hospital coffee still on my tongue, and I started noticing every small thing I had been too tired to see. The next thing I found blew the door off everything. It wasn't on his phone. It was in our insurance records. I wasn't hunting for affair evidence. I was hunting for Sophie's insurance claim from ER night. His laptop sat open on dining table, still logged into our shared health portal, and I needed visit summary to file reimbursement, IV fluids, after-hours pediatric consult, every charge from that 2 a.m. rush. When her fever hit 104 Fahrenheit and wouldn't break. High fever, doctors say. Call immediately, they say. So I did. I carried her in wearing socks that didn't match, whispering, "Stay with me," while triage doors kept opening for everyone else. His draft folder had one item mislabeled medical. Not a claim. A forwarded restaurant confirmation. 2 guests. Reservation stamped 9:47 p.m. Same night I was pressing Sophie's burning cheek against my neck under fluorescent ER lights, begging nurse to see her faster. The receipt included promotional photo of glass-walled dining room, candlelight caught in window reflection, wine list, and 2 place settings tucked beside each other on one side of table. Intimate, deliberate, not coworkers reviewing slides between bites. He had called it a late work dinner. Work dinners don't lean that close. My hand stayed still. That scared me more than shaking would have. Something cold clicked on behind my ribs, not panic, not denial, something mechanical and patient, and I started scrolling backward through his inbox like I was following recipe steps. People say workplace affairs are common, that so many start there. I used to hear that and think sad for them. Not us. Not my life. Then numbers became subject lines. Dates. Times. Her name was Jenna, senior project coordinator in his division. I'd met her once at holiday party. She smiled, complimented my earrings, asked how far along I was, then placed her hand on my stomach before I could answer. Friendly, harmless, gone by dessert. His inbox gave me woman I hadn't met. Their thread ran back 18 months. At first, clean office language, attached deck, revised timeline, manager joke about ugly tie. Around month 4, punctuation changed. Exclamation points multiplied. Then private shorthand. Then inside jokes about coffee shop they accidentally kept ending up at. Then a voice memo with no transcript, and a play button I stared at for full minute without touching. I kept scrolling anyway. Clock told story words kept trying to hide. 6:03 a.m. Message from him to her, sent before he leaned over sink, kissed my temple, and asked if I wanted scrambled eggs. 12:27 p.m. from her to him, sent while I texted him ultrasound photo and wrote she kicked again, with too many exclamation marks, because joy needed somewhere to land. Tuesday in March, 4 months before Sophie was born. I can't stop thinking about last night. I read that one 3 times, then looked up at kitchen window, like answer might be waiting in dark glass. My pregnancy memories started folding inward, soft and ruined, like soaked cardboard collapsing under its own weight. Every back rub he gave me when my spine screamed. Every whispered, "You're beautiful" at 8 months, when I couldn't see my feet. Every time he pressed his ear to my belly and told our daughter he couldn't wait to meet her. All of it had been running beside another life I couldn't see. Same man, same hours, 2 separate scripts. Then I found June 14. Not first birthday, not first steps. Birthday. Labor sits in my body as flashes, hospital bracelet pinching wrist, nurse adjusting my IV line, contractions stacking so close I forgot where one ended and next began. He gripped my hand through each one. He wiped my face. He said, "You're incredible." He cut cord with shaking fingers and cried when Sophie made that first angry sound. Between contractions, while I was bent over bed rail trying not to scream, he texted Jenna. 11:40 twup. M. It's happening. Might be a long night. 11:58 p.m. She's doing okay. Miss you. 12:14 m. Almost there. Call you tomorrow. 3 messages. 16 minutes apart. Sent from chair beside my hospital bed while I pushed our daughter into world. I read them twice. Then third time. Words stayed exactly where he left them. Inside me, nothing shattered. It cauterized. Sudden heat. Clean seal. No blood. No cry. Love didn't rip out in one dramatic moment. It drained through details, through tiny treasons measured in minutes, and battery percentages, and typing bubbles. I did not slam laptop shut. I did not confront. I documented. I created new email address in 90 seconds. Random name, no connection to me, no birthdays, nothing he would think to search. I forwarded entire thread chain, every folder, every attachment. Then I deleted traces from sent history, checked trash, checked recover, restored draft order exactly as it had been. Closed lid to same angle he'd left, half open like unfinished task. When he got home that evening, table was set. Sophie banged spoon against high chair tray and squealed at peas. I asked, "How was your day?" Without looking up too fast. He loosened tie, kissed top of Sophie's head, said, "Long." I nodded, served him chicken, passed salt. He had no idea he was eating across from woman already gone. That night he fell asleep fast, arm draped across my waist like claim stake in ground he thought still his. I stared at ceiling where streetlight painted pale bars across plaster and replayed 2 years frame by frame, proposal on bridge, with cold wind cutting through my coat, nursery walls we painted together while music played off key from his phone, tears in his eyes when nurse placed Sophie on his chest. Scene stayed same, meaning changed. Same words, different lighting. What I called devotion now looked rehearsed, portable, repeatable. Probably repurposed for her with different pet names, different restaurants, same voice. By 3 a.m., question in dark was no longer did he cheat. Evidence had ended that argument hours ago. Real question was harder and quieter. Do I keep building life around man never fully inside it, or do I dismantle structure beam by beam while he still thinks house is standing? I knew answer before dawn. Knowing is one country, doing is another. Most people die at border. I was getting ready to cross. Then his mother called. He missed Sophie's 3rd birthday, and by then I had already unlearned the habit of waiting at window. His mother called morning after I found delivery room messages. She didn't ask how Sophie was. Didn't ask whether fever had broken, or if her breathing had settled overnight. She called because Daniel told her I was acting distant, and she wanted to remind me that marriage requires grace. Grace. I held phone an inch from my ear and watched Sophie at kitchen table, tiny fingers sticky with banana, pink back in her cheeks, humming to herself like world was still safe. She had no idea frame of our family had been hollowed out for longer than she had been alive. His mother said one mistake 4 times in 11 minutes. She told me men drift when wives stop paying attention. Then she offered me her own marriage like proof. Your father-in-law had a wandering eye once, she said. 40 years later, we're still here. I almost let that story swallow mine. That was dangerous part. Not in one day. In slow way poison works. Over weeks, then months, her voice slid into every crack exhaustion had opened in me and started planting doubt. Maybe I was dramatic. Maybe this was normal. Maybe every marriage had this chapter and just survived quietly. Maybe those messages from my delivery room were only words, not evidence he had already checked out before his daughter took first breath. I filed for divorce without speeches, without warnings, and without waiting for his mother's permission slip. Daniel signed like he did everything else. Quick hand, blank face, no weight behind it. He moved into apartment 14 minutes away, gave me visitation plan he designed himself, and broke it within 6 weeks. What came after wasn't one explosion. It was erosion. A birthday skipped. A school play missed. Then 3 weekends straight where his phone went to voicemail. And this time, I didn't invent excuses for him. By Sophie's 3rd birthday, the pattern had hardened into something clean and obvious, something I could stop grieving and start planning around. I stopped listening for his key and lock. I stopped setting place at table. Single parenthood didn't kick down door. It came in through logistics. Permission slips on days I worked doubles. A feverish child on one hip and grocery bags biting into my fingers as I climbed 2 flights of stairs. Rent due same day as electric bill, and both of them demanding to be first. Nobody applauds that kind of arithmetic. Nobody posts about Tuesday nights eating cereal over sink because sitting down feels like surrender. Sophie started violin at 5 because school offered lessons for free. Every Wednesday I drove her in clinic scrubs, smell of antiseptic still on my sleeves, then waited in hallway with nursing brochures spread across my lap while she attacked Twinkle Twinkle like she had personal issue with it. Those hallway hours were my only silence. I used them to draft life that did not depend on anyone rescuing me. But here's what nobody says out loud about leaving. Hardest moment isn't Discovery Day. It's 3 years later, when loneliness has weight, and your body just wants another adult voice in room. Sophie was 7. Another fever. 101 this time. Not dangerous, just stubborn enough to keep her whimpering and reaching for me in her sleep. I finally got her down around midnight, tucked blanket under her chin, kissed her damp forehead, and stepped outside because walls were pressing in. I sat in driver's seat with engine off. His number lit up on screen. My thumb hovered. One tap, and I'd hear voice that used to make me feel less alone. Even knowing now that comfort had always come with counterfeit edges. Car had gone cold. Streetlight buzzed above me like trapped insect. Every day of those 3 years settled onto shoulders, heavy and wet, and in that moment I understood exactly why people go back. Not because they forgive, because they're tired. I sat there for 9 minutes. I counted each one. Then I locked phone, walked back inside, opened laptop on kitchen counter, and clicked nursing school application I had bookmarked 4 months earlier. By 4 o'clock a.m., every field was done, every document uploaded, every signature in place. I hit submit before doubt could ask for one more delay. That night, action took chair longing used to sit in. Structure moved into room chaos had been renting. 2 years of night classes while working days. Sophie did homework at hospital cafeteria tables while I studied pharmacology between shifts. Highlighter ink on my fingers, vending machine coffee going cold beside me. I graduated with honors and debt I could actually map to an ending, which was more than I could ever say for my marriage. Year 5, license. Year 6, down payment. Year 7, a 3-bedroom house with a backyard, where Sophie played violin on summer evenings, and notes drifted past porch while I sat on steps, feeling each board under me, knowing every inch had my name on it. I didn't heal because Daniel became a better man. I healed because I stopped bargaining with someone who never stayed in room. Then last spring, on a Sunday morning, my phone rang while I was flipping pancakes. His voice came through thinner than I remembered. Softer, smaller. He said he wanted to come home. I said nothing. He inhaled, and the next sentence hit like a rock through glass. I also need a co-signer on a loan. Business went under, and, pan hissed. Pancake darkened. Call was still live. I hadn't hung up. And Sophie was standing in the kitchen doorway, looking at me in a way that said she had heard all of it. He didn't call to apologize. He called because his collapse came with a deadline. I let him talk. I was on the porch of a house he had never stepped inside. Coffee warming my hand, morning air cool against my neck, while Daniel tried to pour 7 years of fallout into my ear like I still owed him a place to set it down. His business partner was gone. The woman from work had left years earlier, somewhere around year 2, according to him. He called her toxic, and I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing at the nerve of it. Then came the performance, softened tone, careful sighs, long pauses arranged like props. He kept repeating Sophie's name like it might open something for him if he said it enough. I think about her every day, he said. I rested my palm on the porch railing I had sanded down and painted last August. Smooth. Solid. Mine. Paid in full. Boards, mortgage, electric bills, braces, consults, groceries, and every exhausted overnight shift after clinicals. I had once sat in hospital hallways as a frightened mother with a burning child in my arms. Now I walked those same halls with a badge clipped to my chest and patients calling me nurse. Nursing school had not come from inspiration. It came from panic, then discipline. Eventually he drifted back to what he wanted, inching toward it like a man already halfway over the edge. It's just paperwork, he said. A formality. 6 months, maybe 8, and I'll clean it up. I let silence answer first. Most people can't stay in silence very long. Daniel never could. Are you still there? He asked. I was. In every way he still didn't understand. But before I told him anything, you need to know what happened after that pancake burned. Sophie had been in the kitchen doorway that morning, listening to his voice leak through my phone speaker while smoke from the ruined pancake curled toward the vent. She was 12, old enough to hear fear under his words, old enough to identify begging when she heard it. I ended the call without an answer, scraped the blackened pancake into the trash, and poured her orange juice with a hand that stayed steady by force. She sat down across from me, turning a fork between her fingers, then looked up and shifted the floor under my feet with one sentence. Mom, I found his Instagram 2 years ago. 2 years, she was 10. She said she searched his name after a school family tree assignment, found the account, saw dinner photos, weekend pictures, a woman she didn't recognize, smiling beside him in places we had never gone. She scrolled for a daughter and found nothing. Not one picture, not one mention, not one accidental trace. She closed the app and never told me. I didn't want you to feel bad, she said. At 12, she had already reached the conclusion I had wrestled with for years. No scene, no tears. Just the quiet math children do. Counting chairs, noticing which one stays empty, then stopping the count because the answer doesn't change. So when I called Daniel back that evening, stepping onto porch while sky went copper behind roofline, I wasn't carrying doubt anymore. My daughter had handed me clarity with both hands. He answered on first ring. Daniel, I said, we're fine. Silence. Then, what do you mean? I mean, Sophie is healthy. She's brilliant. She plays violin. I finished my degree. I own this house. We are fine. I said each line slowly, one at a time, and let them land. I'm not co-signing anything. And I'm not reopening a door you walked out of before she could say your name. My voice didn't rise. It didn't shake. I wasn't punishing him. I was declining him. He made one more attempt, something about deserving a chance, about being different now, and I cut in. First time I had interrupted him in that whole call. You had chances. They were at 2 a.m. in emergency rooms with a child at 104, and no one to hand her to. They were at 7 a.m. school gates, field trip forms, and fevers that wouldn't break unless I held her through the night. Those were your chances. They expired. I ended call. Screen went black. Crickets took over yard. Inside, Sophie was practicing scales. Notes floated out through window screen. Uneven, stubborn, alive. That sound was every year he missed. That sound was frame around every decision I made after night I stopped expecting him at door. I never taught her bitterness. I taught her what a boundary sounds like when it clicks shut from inside. We were always fine without him. Not heroic, not dramatic, just true. If this sits heavy in your chest, you already know why. Next week's story is harder to tell.